So, The Blade itself by Joe Abercrombie. Have you ever wondered what goes on in the mind of a professional government torturer? Are you curious about a wizard who enjoys a good bath? How about death in general? Are you interested in reading things that make you feel icky? Then this is the book for you. This will be a kinda spoilery review. I don't know what will spoil anything for anyone, so I think it's safe to say I'll leave it at that, and you do with that information what you will. This book follows a cast of characters who are all awful people in their own respective awful ways, and these characters are living in a world that seems to be equally, if not more awful than them. These characters tug at every idea of morality that one may have. Despite how dark and gritty this book and these characters are, the reader is forced to empathize with these awful people because it's all you've got, really. And the insight into these characters' intentions is pretty much the only way that one could possibly do that. So we get a lot of really fantastic internal dialogue and thoughts and actions and some background as to why these people are the way they are. And that is the dynamic of the entire book. You have to live with the fact that these are awful people, but they've all been through some shit. So that was my overarching commentary on this book. I just kept telling people as I was reading it, this book is about awful people who live in an awful world, and you have to deal with that. So a character could say or do something externally that is totally in line with the appropriate etiquette or cultural circumstance. And on the inside, as a reader, you also get the internal dialogue that just creates an entirely different dynamic for these characters who are awful people. So I just keep saying that. They're not good people, any of them. So they could be saying out loud something and they're like, oh yes, well, it's very nice to meet you. And on the inside, they are just straight trash talking these people. They despise the person that they're speaking to and they can't let it be known. But we know that. I feel like that's never fully missing from a book. Generally, there's always some internal dialogue that happens in a book. But it's just so effectively done in this one that everything's just so real. Everything is real. And we know people. We know how people are. We know the dynamic of and the nature of humans. And we put on a face. We put on a facade, whether it be at work, at school, on YouTube, with our friends, with our family. It doesn't matter. We put on these little facades and we know that we are bad people on the inside. And I don't mean that we're all bad enough people to be killing people, like in The Blade itself. We have to be nice to people that we don't like. And we hear our own thoughts. And if we think it's funny, we don't really tell people about it because it's mean and it's not really culturally appropriate for us to do that. But in the book, you get that satisfaction, which is just, it's so good and so different from what I'm used to reading in fantasy. This book really flips the traditional format of fantasy completely on its head, completely upside down and all around and in circles, and just shakes it up until it's something totally different, until it's something that you would never conceive of would be in fantasy. But it's right there, and it is kind of traditional fantasy at its core. I absolutely loved this book. And I appreciated it because I love all fantasy. I mean, I love all aspects of it. I love the old classic corny fantasy with dragons and a hero and his band of, other heroes and doing the good and all of that. I love all of that. But sometimes you just need something different. And this book really provided something different for me. Okay, so the world itself was super cloudy for me. And I'm not going to complain about that too much because I know the author's intent was not to build the world in this book. It was to get you into the heads of the characters. So I'm not going to complain about that too much, but I will say I really wish that there would be a map. And I've read a lot of contention online about maps. Like, should it even be necessary? You should be able to have your own image in your head or whatever. But I'm such a visual person that, I mean, I didn't know until they were in the house of the maker that the structure of all of the lands, I assume islands, are circular. It's circular. I just feel like if I would have had a map, I would have been able to put all of these places together. There's north and there's south and there's what's in the middle. And for me, that's all I got. And I understand it's pretty traditional in the way that the north, it's cold, the people are pale. In the south, it's really hot and the people are dark. I mean, that's kind of all I got. I don't know where anything is placed. And I've avoided looking up a map because I don't know. I don't know if the author intended for there to be a map. I'm afraid to Google it because I don't want to find a map, you know? I don't know. It's really silly. Just, I wanted a map. My favorite character was changing frequently throughout the book because we get so many perspectives. I just couldn't choose one. But here's where I stand at the end with all of a general review of all the characters. So by the end, I was most intrigued by Logan and Glokta and where their storylines are heading. And I know Glokta is everyone's favorite. He's currently one of my favorites, obviously. I love everything about him. His dynamic is really wild. I mean, a torturer that you empathize with probably the most, or I do, that you wouldn't normally come across that. So those two I'm really intrigued by when it comes to what's coming in their storylines. I was most entertained by Baez, and I'm probably going to say some of these names wrong, but don't care that much, to be honest. Like, I enjoyed the book, so please don't gatekeep me because I may be pronouncing a name wrong. Anyway, Baez was the most entertaining, mostly because of his little antics, like his bath thing. I love his whole bathtub thing. And then when he gets that scene, which this is not a spoiler, I'm not going to reveal the whole thing, I promise, but the scene where he has to get out of the tub to get into action just made me laugh out loud. It was so funny and so good. And I feel like he just has these funny little tidbits. And because we never really got into his head at all in the story, I feel like he was good comedic relief. Like, he was just so chill and he knows everything that's going on, that everyone who's panicking around him or in fear or whatever, he's just there being a wizard, and that's all I need out of a wizard. Like, just be a wizard. And he is just being a wizard right now. It's good. I absolutely loathe Jazal. I hate him. He sucks. And it's really funny because he is the least lethal out of all of them. He is the least... he causes the least amount of physical pain, I feel like. But he is just, in general, a horrible person emotionally and mentally and culturally, that every time I had to read one of his scenes, I was getting annoyed, unless some other characters were involved in it. I was just getting annoyed because I hate his internal dialogue so much. And that doesn't say anything about Joe Abercrombie's writing. It says something about Jazal, and that he was just so effectively written to be hated. And it worked. It worked 100% on me. It did exactly what it needed to, I think, if that was the intention, which I feel like it was. And of course, I'm also excited for anything incoming for the named men, the group that had been with Logan previously, Dogman, Black Dow, that group. I'm excited to see, I'm hoping that they meet at some point, that everyone meets, because I really want, I don't know, they seem to think about each other a lot, Logan and this group, and I just want a happy reunion. And I know I probably won't get this reunion because it's grimdark, but I really want it anyway. And yeah, I'm really excited to see if they get to meet, because I know that's kind of where it's headed, and I know they probably won't, but I don't know. As a plot and world-driven reader, I was a little shook at how I just couldn't put this book down at all. I had to keep reading it. It was so good. So for those of you who've made it through without thinking there are spoilers, I will say that this book is not for the faint of heart. I feel like anyone who picks up this book and reads the description likely knows that it's going to have all these dark elements in it, But just in case, I would just like to preface for anyone looking to read this book that if you have mental health symptoms that are triggered by torture, abuse, assault, blood, things like that, I would stay away from this book, because it takes these things, it doesn't take them lightly, but it's so common in the book that it almost feels like it does, and so you don't, it's like it's not a surprise, but that's kind of the point. It's so casual that I can see how if you have issues dealing with these kinds of elements, you should not read this book. But if you can handle it, it's worth a read, and likely a reread. I'm going to get there soon, probably. And I did want to just say that. If you can handle those elements, then this book is fantastic, and I 100% recommend it to you. I don't think there's a middle ground. This is a very niche genre, grimdark, and despite this series being massively popular on BookTube and on the internet, it is a niche subgenre of fantasy, and it is not for everyone. So I did just want to say that. But overall, I absolutely loved the book. There are so many memorable moments, so many reveals, and they don't even need to be a big reveal, but so many reveals that were just so cool, and I remember them so distinctly, even though I just finished reading this book last night. In particular, Logan becoming the Bloody Nine, that had me jaw dropped. Ooh, it was so good. But there's just so much I appreciate in this book. I am gonna go ahead and start book 2, which I have up here. I don't know if you can see it. I don't remember what my camera setup looks like from where I am right now. But I am gonna start book 2 before they are hanged, and it's not part of my April TBR. I wasn't expecting to love this so much that I need to finish the whole series this month, but I'm gonna at least read number 2, and I'll probably read book 3 in May, because I do want to get my other books done. But so if you made it to the end of this video, I thank you kindly, and I ask that if you want more Chocobo Reads content, you subscribe and like this video down below. I post every single week, try to do it on Sunday, might sometimes be Monday. I make fantasy and sci-fi content, and I really just want to talk about books with people. I don't have many people in my life to talk about these books with me, so I really would just like to be a part of the community, and in order to do that, I need viewers like you. So thank you so much. Okay, bye.